Alright, so far we've looked at the definition of an exponential function, we have evaluated an exponential function, and we've graphed an exponential function. Now we have to talk about a particular base that comes up often. And I mean, so far we've used a base of 5, a base of 4, a base of 3, and those I've just been kind of making up as we gone along. But there's one base that comes up often in science and nature, and so it comes up so often, and it's called the natural base. Okay, and the natural base is a base e. Right, so e is approximately 2.71828. Alright, so just like we have a number pi, and pi is the ratio of the circumference to the diameter in a circle, but that number pi is irrational. It goes on forever and ever and ever. But it came up so often that we're like, well, we're going to come up with some letter to just kind of help us, and so we came up with the Greek letter pi. Well, e is the same way. Now, I'm not going to define what e is right now because it's a little complicated, but basically, this number e kept on coming up so often that scientists and mathematicians from the past said, well, let's give this number here that's irrational, but it's important, a letter. And this is actually the Greek letter epsilon. It looks like an e, so we call it e nowadays. But it is a Greek letter. And so we can now have f of x equals e to the x power, and this is our natural exponential function. Alright, so let's evaluate e at a couple of points. Let's say we have e to the 6.2 power. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so you get out your calculator. And e is actually located in two spots. One of the spots, the one that we're going to use, is here's, you have your on button, store button, ln button, we'll talk about that later. And then in blue you have e to the x. Okay, so that's the one I like to use. E to the x of 6.2, and boom. And we get approximately 492.7490. Let's try this one. E to the negative 0.4. E to the negative 0.4 gives us 0.6703. Good. Let's try the other one, the other way to do this. You have e to the negative 7.1, and I mean it's really no different, but at least in my calculator, above the divided sign in blue there's an e, so I could actually go e. Now the disadvantage is now I gotta press that raised to the, in this case, negative 7.1 power. And I get, well, it says here 8.251, and that e means times 10 to the negative 4th. So e to the negative 7.1 is actually 0.123821. So if you remember your scientific notation, that's how that works. Alright, so in this video we went over a lot of concepts. We have the definition of an exponential function, which is basically f of x equals a to the bx power. We have evaluated our exponential function at values, which I don't think was too challenging. Then we looked at graphing, and that was probably the main part of this video. How do we graph these functions? And so there's the three main points. So don't forget we have a horizontal asymptote, but then there's our three main points, and then we can do transformation on those three main points. And then finally we looked at what is this natural base or the natural exponential function. And as we go through our exponents and logarithms, you're going to find out that this number e comes up often.